In this video, we're going to install LIMS Nucleus with a Guix pack. This is a little different from the previous video where I installed LIMS Nucleus on Amazon Web Services using the standard method of installing a channel and performing a Guix pull, pulling in the LIMS Nucleus packaging recipe, and then running Guix package install. A Guix pack is defined in the Guix manual. It's a shrink-wrapped software bundle that contains all of the binaries for the software you're interested in, as well as all of its dependencies. Using the standard installation method, Guix package install LIMS N requires that you install Guix, perform a Guix pull. You need to set up the Lab Solutions channel, and if you're working on Amazon, it requires a T2 medium instance because you need the extra memory to do a Guix pull. This is a little more expensive, and it's not available to new users as a free tier option. A Guix pack is a simpler installation. It's a single script install, and because there's no Guix and no Guix pull, you can make use on Amazon of the free tier T2 micro instance of Debian. Installation instructions for using a Guix pack are found under Download, Evaluation Options. So here are the various options you have for evaluating LIMS Nucleus. The easiest is go to the pre-installed Amazon Web Service instance where it's already running. You can use the username, password, demo, and evaluate directly. Today we're going to talk about installing using a Guix pack. Download the install script to your local drive. On Amazon, I query for Debian instances, and I select. If you were doing a standard Guix installation, you would need to use T2 Medium, which has 4 gigs of memory. But because this is a Guix pack installation, I can work with the T2 Micro, which is free tier eligible. I will launch, confirm that I have the private key, and I can view my instance. So to log in at a terminal, this is the URL that I will need, and when the script initiates, it will ask me for the IP address of my instance, which is found right here. At a terminal, I can SSH into my running instance, and if we look, we can see there's nothing there. So now I can transfer using SCP my install file. Now if I go back to Amazon, my file has been transferred over and I can run this install script. So I need to enter the IP address. Maximum number of plates per plate set. The default is 100. I'll change it to 110 just to see that it was changed, and then I will say yes, I want to set up a local database. So now this script should run through to completion. So the script has completed. We need to restart the terminal to source bash rc. And we can run the script start limsn to start up the web server that provides the client. Rather than restart the terminal, I'll just source the bash script. So that sets environment variables. Let's look at the Guix related environment variables. So the Guile load path and the Guile dbd path have been set, as well as the bin directory has been put on the path so that I can start up the web server. So on the first run, multiple scheme files are going to be compiled. That will take about 30 seconds. All future invocations of start limsn will start up in about 1 second. So it's up and running. We can visit the site right here. So here we are at our website, but before we can view a page, we need to go back to Amazon and open up port 3000. So security, go into the security group, edit the inbound rules, add a rule, port 3000, open to the world, and save. So now if we reload, it is working, but we need to go to a valid page. The login page is a valid page. And so now we can log in with ln admin superuser, welcome, all lowercase. Go to project 1, which has an example assay run, and just confirm that new plot is working. So it looks like it's up and running and ready to go. If we go back to the terminal and kill the web server, we can look at what has been deposited into our directory. So install limsn was the original installation file that we downloaded. That used wget to pull down the pack, and then this pack was unzipped to provide the bin in the new directory. The new directory contains all of our software, and the bin directory contains all of our executables. So for example, init limsn is run once. That will install the configuration file and also modified bash rc. Load pg will load the Postgres database with using all of the SQL files in new store. These files will create the tables, load stored procedures, and also load all of the data that is needed for a LIMS Nucleus to run. Data like plate definitions and layouts. And then the third executable of importance is start limsn, which is what we used to start the web server. We can look at the configuration file. And you can see, for example, here are the various database parameters that need to be modified. The database name, password that are used to construct the connection string. And if we look at get bash rc, you can see that we define various environment variables that are needed. lcall, the guile load path, guile db path, and then we put on our path the bin that was extracted from the pack. You can find information on the configuration parameters under the tag configuration at labsolutions.com. On the configuration page, you can see database specific parameters and what the defaults are, as well as the web server specific parameters that need to be adjusted. LIMS Nucleus is a client-server application that makes use of two servers. The Artanis web server serves the client interface, and a Postgresql database server. In this video, using Guix pack to install LIMS Nucleus, we will install both the database and the client server on the same EC2 instance. That is convenient for evaluation purposes, but it places the burden of backup, restore, and maintenance of the database server on the user. You would like to outsource these activities either to your IT department or to a cloud provider. For a custom installation of the Postgresql database, for example, on a cloud provider, you can go to Developer, Postgresql, and find an archive that will provide all the SQL scripts necessary to get the database up and running. Once that has been done, you need to modify the Artanis configuration file. Configuration parameters that need to be modified can be found under the tag configuration and under the database section of configuration. For a production installation of LIMS Nucleus, you would follow the following sequence of events. First, you would install the database separately, maybe on an internal server or possibly with your cloud provider. Directions can be found at this link, where you will find an archive that provides all the SQL scripts necessary to set up the database. In particular, you need to record a number of variables that are used in the configuration file. Next, you would install the client using the install script that we are working with in this video, found at this link. Respond no when requested whether to install the database or not. You've already installed it up at step 1. Note that install limsn pack automatically calls init limsn, and this will install the configuration file as well as modify bash rc. Next, you need to edit the configuration file found at this location. These are the parameters that need to be added, and you can get more explanation at this link on Lab Solutions. And then finally, you can start the web server using this command. Init limsn as well as start limsn are both found in the bin directory that is expanded from the pack that is downloaded when you run the installation script. If you have questions as to the suitability of LIMS Nucleus for your process, contact us at info@labsolutions.com.